The year is 1914. Europe, a continent brimming with empires and entangled in alliances, erupts into war. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, triggers a chain reaction that plunges the world into chaos. Germany, Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire and Bulgaria form the Central Powers. They face off against the Allied powers, France, Britain, Russia, Italy, and eventually the United States. World War I, as it comes to be known, is a conflict unlike any other. New technologies like machine guns, tanks, and poison gas transform warfare, making it deadlier than ever before. Gone are the days of grand cavalry charges and Napoleonic tactics. Instead, soldiers find themselves bogged down in trenches, facing an endless barrage of artillery fire and machine gun bullets. The Western Front, a 400-mile scar stretching across France and Belgium, becomes synonymous with the horrors of this new kind of war. It is a landscape of mud, barbed wire and death, where millions of soldiers will fight and die in a brutal stalemate. Amidst the carnage of the Western Front, a small city in northeastern France will soon become a symbol of the war's senseless brutality, Verdun. By 1916, the war on the Western Front had reached a bloody stalemate. German General Erich von Falkenhayn devised a daring plan to break the deadlock. He planned a massive offensive against Verdun, a symbolically important target. Verdun held a special place in the French national consciousness. On February 21, 1916, the German guns opened fire, marking the beginning of the Battle of Verdan. The German bombardment of Verdun was unlike anything seen before in warfare. For hours on end, shells rained down on the French positions, pulverizing trenches, obliterating fortifications, and transforming the landscape into a lunar wasteland. The French called it l'enfer, hell. French soldier. As the bombardment subsided, German infantry surged forward, their advance spearheaded by elite stormtroopers armed with flamethrowers and grenades. The French, though initially caught off guard by the ferocity of the assault, fought back with fierce determination. Verdun became a battle of attrition, a grinding struggle for every inch of ground. Both sides threw wave after wave of soldiers into the maelstrom, only to be met by a hail of machine gun fire and artillery shells. The fighting raged day and night, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. One of the most iconic and fiercely contested battlegrounds was Fort Douaumont, a massive concrete fortress that dominated the battlefield. The Germans captured Douaumont early in the battle, dealing a severe blow to French morale. The fort changed hands several times during the course of the battle, becoming a symbol of the struggle for Verdun. The Battle of Verdan was a clash of armies and wills. Leaders emerged who shaped the battle and history. General Erich von Falkenhayn believed in victory through attrition. French General Philippe Pétain focused on morale and supply. He organized a massive logistical effort along the Voie Sacrée. Sergeant Émile Driant's courage made him a legend. Section 5. Attrition. The grinding struggle for every inch. As the weeks turned into months, the Battle of Verdun settled into a grim routine of attack and counterattack. The Germans, despite their initial successes, found themselves bogged down in a war of attrition that they had not anticipated. The French, though suffering heavy losses, fought with a tenacity that surprised even their enemies. The battlefield itself became a nightmarish landscape. Shell craters, some larger than houses, pockmarked the terrain. Forests, once lush and green, were reduced to shattered stumps. French nursing. The air was thick with the stench of cordite, rotting flesh and poison gas. Life for the soldiers on both sides was a living hell. They endured constant artillery bombardments, machine gun fire, and the ever-present threat of sniper fire. The trenches, often filled with mud and water, offered little protection from the elements or the enemy. Disease was rampant, and the psychological strain of constant combat took a heavy toll. Yet, amidst the horror, there were also moments of humanity and compassion. Soldiers on both sides risked their lives to rescue wounded comrades, shared cigarettes during lulls in the fighting, and even sang songs across the trenches. Section 6. Turning the tide. French resilience and German exhaustion. By the summer of 1916, the tide of the battle began to turn. The French, bolstered by Pétain's leadership and the arrival of fresh troops, launched a series of counterattacks that slowly pushed the Germans back. French soldier, the Germans, their forces exhausted and their morale waning, found it increasingly difficult to maintain their offensive. Moreover, the Battle of the Somme, a massive Anglo-French offensive launched in July 1916, forced the Germans to divert troops and resources away from Verdun. The Somme, intended to relieve pressure on the French at Verdun, became a bloody stalemate in its own right, but it succeeded in drawing German attention and resources away from the Meuse. As the summer wore on, the German offensive at Verdun gradually lost its momentum. French soldier Falkenhayn, facing mounting criticism for the heavy casualties and the lack of a decisive victory, was replaced as Chief of the General Staff by Paul von Hindenburg. The new German leadership, recognizing the futility of continuing the offensive, decided to shift their focus elsewhere. Section 7. A costly victory. Verdun's place in history. On December 18, 1916, after 10 long months of fighting, the Battle of Verdun finally came to an end. The French had recaptured most of the ground lost earlier in the battle, but at a terrible cost. The Germans, though ultimately unsuccessful in their objective of bleeding France white, had also suffered heavy losses. The Battle of Verdun was one of the longest and bloodiest battles in human history. Exact casualty figures are difficult to determine, but it is estimated that over 700,000 soldiers were killed or wounded during the 300 days of fighting. The French suffered an estimated 362,000 casualties, while the Germans lost an estimated 337,000. Despite the staggering losses, the Battle of Verdun is often considered a strategic victory for the French. We'd successfully defended our positions and prevented the Germans from achieving their objective of a decisive breakthrough. Moreover, the battle had a profound impact on French morale. On ne passe pas, they shall not pass, became a rallying cry for the French nation, symbolizing our determination to resist German aggression. Section 8. Scars on the land, Verdun's legacy of destruction. The Battle of Verdun left an indelible scar on the landscape of northeastern France. The battlefield, once a picturesque region of rolling hills and forests, was transformed into a desolate wasteland. Villages were obliterated, forests were reduced to splintered stumps, and the ground was churned up by countless shell craters. British correspondent, even today, over a century later, the scars of the battle are still visible. The Zone Rouge, a vast area around Verdun, deemed too dangerous for human habitation due to unexploded ordnance, stands as a haunting reminder of the battle's ferocity. Yet, amidst the destruction, there are also signs of renewal. Forests have slowly reclaimed the battlefields, and memorials and cemeteries stand as silent tributes to the fallen. The Ossuaire de Douaumont, a vast ossuary containing the remains of over 130,000 unidentified French and German soldiers, serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of the battle. Section 9. Remembrance Verdun as a symbol of sacrifice. In the years following World War I, Verdun came to symbolize the senseless brutality of war and the sacrifices made by those who fought there. The French government declared Verdun a ville martyre, a martyr city, and erected numerous memorials and monuments to commemorate the battle. French nurse, today Verdun is a place of pilgrimage for people from all over the world. Visitors come to pay their respects at the countless cemeteries and memorials, to walk in the footsteps of those who fought and died there, and to reflect on the lessons of the past. American volunteer, the Memorial de Verdun, a museum dedicated to the history of the battle, provides a moving and informative account of the events of 1916. Through photographs, artifacts, and personal accounts, the museum tells the stories of the soldiers who fought at Verdun, both French and German, and explores the impact of the battle on those who lived through it. Section 10. Learning from the past, Verdun's message for the future. The Battle of Verdun, though fought over a century ago, still holds important lessons for us today. It serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of war and the importance of diplomacy and peaceful resolution of conflicts. Verdun also highlights the dangers of nationalism and militarism. The road to Verdun was paved with a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and a fervent belief in military strength. It is essential to remember that war is never a simple solution and that its consequences can be devastating and far-reaching. As we reflect on the sacrifices made at Verdun, let us strive to create a world where such horrors are never repeated. Let us honor the memory of those who fought and died there by working for peace, understanding and cooperation among nations.